this morning, I wish to welcome you to the opening bell ringing ceremony to be officiated by Mr. Richard Quest. I'd now like to invite the CEO of the exchange, Mr. Geoffrey Odundo, to welcome us to the event.
So it's a great joy for us to welcome our guest today. Really makes Kenya today sit at a very strong position when you think about our global standing. The capital markets in Kenya is evolving, and we are now a well-recognized and competitive market in the world. As members of the World Federation of Exchanges, we've raised our standards, and that just speaks volumes about the exchange and the capital market partners. We recently got ranked as the third most attractive, best performing financial markets by the Barclays APSA report, and that just again attests to the great things we're doing here. Now, for the benefit of our chief guests and the guests who've come from CNN, just a bit about the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So we are the largest securities exchange in East and Central Africa, and among the top 5 in Africa. I was just telling Richard about how, if you look at the capital markets in Africa, if you try to sort of look at the structure, we've got North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, and East Africa, and each of these markets have kind of got a large market giving the direction. Kenya speaks on behalf of East Africa, if you look at it that way. Now, the NSE, Richard, is a listed company, so you can buy our shares. They're trading very attractively. Now, owing to that demutualization, we have raised our standards. Our governance standards have also gone up. We were also recently ranked as the company with the best governance standard. So one amongst the 3, but I believe, being the market, we sort of carry a higher ranking. And now we're a full member of the WFE. So we do that. And also we are the Secretariat of the Africa Securities Exchange Association. Now, you've come at a time when we're experiencing a bit of challenge on our capital markets. And as I mentioned to you, the trading volumes have sort of gone down, and largely because of what's happening in the more developed markets. But having said that, we still see a great interest from foreign investors. We haven't really seen foreign exits. What we've seen is foreigners sort of holding on to their position. We believe that this is a season. We're going to be seeing better times ahead of us. We have a very attractive market for foreign play. We have no foreign restrictions when it comes to holdings on securities. We have no exchange controls in our market. We don't have capital gains or taxes on the market, so we're really at an attractive market. We are also a market with a deep domestic institutional funds. You talk to the CEO of the largest pension fund in the country. So there is a lot of interest, and pension funds control almost 20% of trading on our market. So we've got all the structures right. We are looking at how we can scale up. We offer a multi-asset trading platform. We're going to be launching our derivatives market, which is going to make us the second market in Africa to do that. So we're also not just all about money. We have a soft side to our business. So we also run a charity trading day. On the 2nd of November, we'll be hosting our 4th charity trading day in Kenya. To date, we've done over 15 million shillings in charity, supporting wildlife conservancy, education, children homes, etc. And we do it on the platform. So we have a trading day here, and we get sponsors, and we also give away our trading fees for that day, all our trading fees. So we've got that. We run a number of sustainability programs. We support women diversity. We support issues around the environment, reporting on sustainable accounting standards, etc. And all that is because we believe that it's not all about business, it's about the community. And that's what we're doing.
It is my great pleasure really today to welcome Richard, who we all know. I was telling him he's a very easy guy. 10 minutes up there, we felt like we knew him for a very long time. But we do know him for a long time. Richard, you have a lot of fans in Kenya. We all have been watching his programs, especially the Quest Means Business and the Business Traveler. I've personally watched them for very, very many years, and it's a real pleasure to have you here. So welcome. The average foreign investor participation in Kenya is about 65 to 70% currently. And having Richard here feature the NSE and Kenya will definitely increase that, and also, get more interest of investors, especially the ones from the US and Europe to participate in our exchange, which will definitely be a good thing. We, as Jeff said, we are the leading exchange in East Africa, East and Central Africa. And I was telling Richard earlier on that we are not just the 50 million Kenyans who we represent in this room, but this is a gateway to a bigger region with about 300 million people. So having Richard here and being featured on CNN will expose the Kenyan market and our exchange to those 300 million people within the greater East and Central African region. So it's a real pleasure, and this today is a very, very important day for all of us. Our Kenyan economy has been doing well, Richard. We have had growth for the last 5 years. The average growth has been over 5%. So we have a very robust economy which is growing fast and continues to grow. I would like, in conclusion, to commend the international media on their continuous coverage of the African region, especially CNN, who have got, Africa? Marketplace Africa, which really showcases our, various initiatives and investments in this region, and probably getting people to know a lot about Africa. So increasingly, when I go to Europe and the US, I'm not asked whether Africa is in Nairobi or vice versa. We have been asking Richard to spend some time to see also our wildlife. We have a lot more to offer than business, as Jeff was saying. We have got probably one of the most diverse countries in terms of tourism, from excellent beaches, probably some of the best in the world, to, of course, our game parks are also some of the best in the world. You can do mountain climbing. Even if you want to do some desert dune bashing, we have sand also. So it's probably one of the best countries to visit in the world. It's now my pleasure to invite Richard, and then we can ring the bell. Please, Richard.
Thank you. Well, it's lovely to be here. People keep asking me why I haven't been to Kenya before. And there's no reason. It just wasn't on the travel schedule. But it is now, and I am here. And sir, ma'am, I'm delighted and thank you. The reality is, and I was gratified to hear this morning, you talk about the level of foreign participation in the market. At 50 to 70%. And that is absolutely crucial to Kenya's and Nairobi's and the stock exchange integration into the wider global economy. Because for one other reason, which is so important and is well understood here, and that is the requirement of open, fair, transparent, well-regulated markets. And it is an indication of the success of the Nairobi Exchange that you do attract such money. I promise you this, international investors, particularly in this day and age, they might dip their toe in the water and they might send a certain number of funds across, but there would nowhere near be that level of participation if there wasn't a feeling that this was a well-run place, that had proper capital limits, that had proper compliance. Now, I'm sure you'll agree, nothing's perfect, and there's work to be done and further to go. But I do think it is a testament to your success that you have been able to attract such foreign capital. Now, I've been nice. The issue, as you were talking about, we were talking of IPOs and why, say, private equity is preferred, or the restrictions or the difficulties. You know, I'm based in the New York Stock Exchange for part of my day, and every day there's an IPO. It's an exciting, vibrant moment as another company comes to the market. And that is something I know, sir, that you're looking at, and ways in which you can increase the liquidity. I'm not sure short selling is entirely the long-term answer for that. However, the ability to create a market that new companies, startups, I mean, this country is awash with new ideas, with entrepreneurs, many of whom will not succeed but will keep trying, and some will succeed. I was genuinely impressed. I apologize for my ignorance, but I was genuinely impressed when I saw M-Pesa. I didn't think it did what it did. That's a tremendous success, an African success, and one where this country leads the rest of the world in terms of mobile banking. So not everything is bright and rosy, but it's a lot better in the garden than in other parts of the world where I've been to see. And finally, let me once again reassure you of our commitment, CNN's commitment, to cover this country. I am delighted to say that we know where Nairobi is. I'm choosing my words very carefully. This is one of those grand statements where you cock it up right at the end. We know where Nairobi is. We are certainly aware of Kenya and its leading position within East Africa. And yes, CNN is well aware that Africa is a large continent of dozens of countries, and it shall not and should not and will not just be described by the word, well, Africa says, or Africa this, or Africa the other. I was fascinated. I was talking to the CEO of KQ yesterday, and we were talking about the distance between here and Lagos, or here and Cairo, here and Johannesburg. You know, these are hours worth of flying. And I do know that some people in the rest of the world say, well, it's round the corner. But then they say that about the United States. There are people who do not realize that the distance from New York to LA is a 5.5-hour flight, which is the same roughly as from Lagos to Nairobi. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the. I think we're going to ring the opening bell, and we're going to take some questions. Now, I don't know what one does to ring the bell, but last night. No, it's not going that way. Last night, I was in the Exchange Bar in my hotel, the Stanley. And the Exchange Bar was where the original stock exchange was founded and where the brokers used to go. You all know this. And we've been covering it, and tonight's Express is coming from there. But I learned a tradition that there's a bell at the Exchange Bar. And the tradition, I think most of you know, is he who rings the bell buys everyone in the bar a drink. So when I ring the bell, do not be surprised if I leave quickly before you all claim your drink. On Friday, the 26th of October, it gives me great pleasure to declare the market open. Now let's go and make some money.
Well done. This one you can take away. So we just want to present to Richard a bell for you to remember as a commemoration.
Thank you very much. That will go nicely on my desk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions, especially when investors and other people are looking at Africa's markets, that you can now help them demystify?
Honestly, that you're all a bunch of corrupt crooks. And watch your wallet. True? That is the perception. And It is going to take more than a few years for that perception to be changed. And if we talk about this country, because, you know, I've obviously spoken, every time I speak about this, by the way, and it's again back to the old tweets, you know, rich journalist from America comes to Africa and criticizes corruption. Who does he think he is? Let's balance this because we're amongst friends. Some people have told me that corruption in this country is getting much better. And by that I mean that's true, yes. People are getting better at doing corruption. Other people say it's going down. The president told me it's going down, but I pointed out to him that so far nobody's been convicted. To which he says, well, now it's up to the judiciary, which proves the point that the entire system is under question. It's not just it's not just a question of round them up, lock them up. It's a question of companies enforcing transparency, the prosecutorial authorities going after them, the judicial authorities properly convicting where appropriate, and people being locked up. That is not easy. So that's the biggest myth. I mean, besides the obvious one, you know, that there are lions walking down the street. There are lions walking down the street and that it's all one country. Africa. As legislation in places like the UK with the Bribery Act, and in the United States, where I know you're all familiar with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, as long as those FCPA and all of these come in, it's going to be much more difficult. So if you want to continue attracting high quality foreign investment, then the road to that, or at least part of the road, is the maintenance of transparent and compliant markets.